Hello and welcome to Scan Warriorz, the first episode of anything that we've ever done.
What's going on?
So we are doing a commentary.
Yes, that's the joke. Yes, we are talking about the Kamen Rider series, basically everything from Kuuga onwards, which is usually referred to as the Heisei era riders.
Yes, so obviously starting off, Kuuga.
Yes, Kamen Rider Kuuga. The first Kamen Rider series, after they took a break after Kamen Rider Black RX in 1989. Yeah.
We'll fact check it later. I am Alan.
And I'm Scott.
And just another starting off thing is we are doing these recordings in parts. Each part is covering a different length of episodes of of series.
Yes. For the first episode, we're doing the first 6 episodes of Kuuga here.
We could just go ahead and go up to the 17.
Yeah. We could probably go through all that. Yeah. So it's probably a little bit longer than that. This is probably going to be one of the longer parts because we get to talk about all of the cool things that we like about Kuuga right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like the all of our notes here.
I just so you guys know, Scott has the notebook in front of him, and I'm sitting away from him, so I'm not actually looking at it. I'm just waiting for him to say something.
Oh yes, all of my notes are in chronological order of the episode, and they're all coded. The first one is literally joke about the English in the opening. We both really like the opening. It's one of the better songs that we've heard that was made for the series, for Kamen Rider Kuuga. And you said you liked it a little bit more than some of the other Kamen Rider openings that you've seen.
Yes. I really like most of the later ones because they're more like faster tempo and upbeat. But compared to like all the early ones I've seen, Kuuga is definitely my favorite so far.
A quick background for our Kamen Rider history. I have only seen fully Kuuga, which is the one we're talking about now, and a later one, Kabuto. But Alan here has seen everything except for Kuuga, so this is uncharted territory for him.
Well, I also haven't seen Hibiki either, but that's going to be fun when we both watch it.
Oh yes, Hibiki will be an experience for both of us, I'm sure. We wanted to talk about the what's the word for it? The zeitgeist, the old computers.
The old computers?
Yeah, the 2000s computers. Like, oh man, oh man. Wow.
Those things are so primitive.
Jesus. I mean, we remember them, but like still.
That computer was in that day and age specifically made to do those translations and nothing else.
Exactly.
If you tried to pop up solitaire in that bitch, it would break instantly.
What was it? Oh, right. Yeah, so we were talking about so in the beginning, so the show starts. How did it start again? They're at the excavation site, right?
Yes.
And they're inside this tomb, and the scientists are looking at like this sarcophagus looking thing, and they go, "Hey, I think these translations say that this sarcophagus is cursed." The head scientist goes, "Open it up anyway, we'll be fine."
No, that's not what happens. They call in their translating expert, who before even translating a single goddamn word, says, "This couldn't possibly be cursed."
Curses aren't real. Curses are totally real.
And then they open it and everybody is dead.
Yes. They open it and suddenly monsters happen. Monster shows up and it just starts murdering everyone. Literally actually killing them. And it's really the monsters in Kuuga are really interesting because they're very intimidating. You don't know much about them. They even speak in some crazy backwards Japanese, so you don't really understand what they're saying. Even the native Japanese speakers didn't understand what they were saying at first. And it was just they would say certain phrases and words, and you'd be able to get a gist of what they were saying, but a lot of what they're saying is just like you have no idea what's going on and what their methods are. Eventually, we learn that they're called the Grongi, and they're an ancient race of some sort of fighters, and that's where Kuuga comes in. He was also an ancient warrior who fought the Grongi, like 2,000 years ago or whatever it was.
Also, just because Scott has seen it doesn't mean we're going to talk about something that hasn't popped up in the episodes yet.
Yeah, I will refrain from spoilers until episode's proper.
But there will be actual spoilers nonetheless.
Yeah, eventually we will be getting on later on into the show, and we will be talking about the spoilers, obviously, as we go down the episodes. So after they've all died, the police are called in to check the excavation site. And this is around the time that we meet our main character, Brodai Yusuke. Brodai Yusuke, a man of 1,999 talents. He has yet to acquire his 2,000th.
His name is Godai.
Brodai Yusuke. So
look at that fucking audio spike right there from when I got really close to it.
Well, that's what happens when you get really close to a microphone. Anyway, he's basically a hobo, but he's also sort of kind of employed by whatever organization this lady works for, the translator lady, Sakura-san.
Oh, I didn't get that at all.
That's why he works and sleeps there.
I thought he slept in the coffee shop.
Yeah, but he also sleeps over there sometimes when he's working.
I just assumed that his friend was really nice and just lets him stay there for free while he does whatever he wants.
Again, when he hands people his business card, which is how you tell people what you do in Japan, it literally just says professional dream chaser or something like that. Something along the lines of, basically he's a hobo who just goes around and does things. He learns how to do different things, and he's a really good guy. His first introduction is he's talking to a lost child, and he's trying to cheer him up because he can't find his parents. So he just starts juggling, and then his parents just come in from off screen, and it's all resolved. And he gives the kid the thumbs up. His signature, the thumbs up.
Okay, not technically his thumbs up. Although it becomes his signature, he did inherit it.
Yes, he did inherit the thumbs up, but he's iconized it.
Oh man!
So we after we've met our main character, he goes and he speaks to his friend at the institute, the university or whatever it is, and they're talking about everyone died at this excavation site, blah blah blah.
Still not super cursed. Just
absolutely not cursed. Curses are totally fake.
They say this as they're saying this as they have a message of the text saying that it's super cursed.
Yes, they literally. Yes, you wake these guys up, everyone is going to die. It's great. So Yusuke is just like, oh yeah, I'll go over there and head over there and check it out. And the cops definitely don't let him in. They say no. You're not a police officer. You're getting nowhere. You're not getting inside. So he tries to pull off the "Hey, look over there" trick, but the best cop ever, Ichijo. I forget his full name. Officer Ichijo. He's not falling for that shit. He's basically our second protagonist. He's a police officer that works for the Tokyo Police Department, and he's a very competent cop, very dedicated to his job, and he's very perceptive, but he's also kind of really straight-laced. His very, like I said, dedicated to his job, and it's he doesn't make a lot of interpersonal connections. Like he's got a couple of friends here and there that we meet later on.
He almost strictly all of his friends are straight up from work. Like he met them through work and then became friends with them later. But he's never doesn't really ever show that he has friends that had other connections with him otherwise.
Yep. So they find this weird belt thing inside the ruins, and then Yusuke gets the crazy prophetic dreams. He somehow has a psychic connection to the belt, which was kind of weird, but whatever. Destiny.
Like I said, he was the closest, most convenient person for the belt to sync with.
I almost argue it would have been Ichijo, but anyway. So they bring it to the whatever the diddly do, the stupid Tokyo Police Department. They bring it to the headquarters essentially, and this is around the time when we actually start meeting a couple of the monsters. One of the monsters is a big spider thing, and that apparently is a running thing in Kamen Rider, where their first enemy is a spider creature of some sort, right? No?
I'm wholeheartedly argue no. This is like the first time I can remember off the top of my head that the enemy is a spider. For the first time.
I could have sworn I read somewhere that it was some kind of like running joke where it's like their first enemy is a spider demon or something.
No, it's I don't know where it's. I wholeheartedly.
It might be a Showa era thing. It might be a thing from the show era. Anyway,
yeah, probably.
We'll check later. Maybe I'm fucking wrong. Whatever.
No, you're super wrong. I can vividly remember like the first episodes of like nearly every Kamen Rider series. It's like one of the two things I remember about nearly every series is the first episode and the final episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the monster, he's just straight up murdering people. He's
super hard.
Yeah, he's just dragging them into his spider's web and just eating them.
Yeah, it's like it is honestly shockingly refreshing compared to all current series, where like the monster shows up, means business, just starts doing monster things, and it's like the stakes are actually put out there as opposed to like all those other times where it's like it kind of slaps somebody around a bit and then somebody's like, I need to be a hero to stop it from slapping around. Just straight murder is a good justification to.
Yes. So we'll get into the actual fighting in a second when I explain. So Yusuke he gets the reason the spider monster shows up at the police department is because it latched onto a police car on the back. Like, oh, you ain't getting away from me. No, get that ass here, boy. And then the car crashes through the front door.
Hold on, no. We gotta bring up the most important part. The reason why it crashed through the door is because when the police is trying to escaping and it shoots the web at the car, it breaks through the back window and wraps itself around the police driver's neck.
Oh yeah, the web is just choking him as he's driving away, and then the spider crawls on the web to eat the guy. Oh man, it was fucking insane. So now we have the monster in the middle of the police department, and no one is equipped to handle this. Bullets bounce off. Essentially, they're completely like regular.
No, they don't bounce off. They impact and they make dents in the skin, but they can't pierce it.
Yeah, standard police issue firearms are basically ineffective. Basically, they do nothing here. But as everyone is knocked off to the side, Yusuke notices the belt from earlier on the floor, and he's just like, "Well, gotta put it on, gotta do the thing." And the monster recognizes the belt, and that's significant because at that point you kind of get that the monsters fought whoever wore the belt in the past, but then the monster recognizes it and says Kuuga, and then that's how Yusuke understands that he is called Kuuga. I don't think a lot of
it's also what it is later they translate the language and get the word Kuuga. and then he remembers that the spider called him Kuuga.
No, they specifically do say Kuuga in the other language, and it's just like, whatever Kuuga means, he just knows that Kuuga is a proper noun.
No, but I mean, like, his realization is through that.
But either way, it's interesting because I don't think a lot of other writers are specifically called their thing.
There's only two are that I know of, and that is Agito and Gil. But once they establish Gil's name, it's said offhandedly by a character who has nobody around them. So he's like, oh, so that's Gil. And then because nobody's around to hear him, and he only says it the once, nobody ever says it again.
Which is also really funny about Kuuga. But so Yusuke puts on the belt, and it does a weird thing and absorbs itself into his body,
like through his clothes. His clothes at the midsection are gone.
Yeah, and then it just absorbs into his body. So the monster picks him up and starts just wailing on Yusuke. But Yusuke starts fighting back, and as his limbs make connection, they start forming armor, and then this is where we get his first transformation into what's officially titled growing form. None of the forms are actually referred to by name in the series, but they're all given like a designation. The growing form is just a symbol of his beginning access to the power, but it's not like he hasn't resolved himself yet, essentially. So it's like a really weak form. It's denoted by white armor, and the beetle horn on his mask is actually slightly smaller than his later forms. And the thing about growing form is that it is really weak. It's not very physically powerful, and it doesn't have a lot of defense. There's not a lot of upsides to it. So it's literally just like a beginning form, literally level 0, essentially.
But it's still stronger than a human, though.
Well, yeah, it's still strong enough to fight the monsters.
And I pointed this out to him when I was watching the episode. If the belt had attached itself to anybody who actually knew how to fight, I think growing form could have technically taken out the spider.
Well, I still think Yusuke sort of knows how to fight. Like, he's not completely inexperienced on how to fight. Yeah, yes, he's not a martial arts master, but I think he does have, like, some experience. And I think we were talking about this. I like the Kuuga outfit. The chest piece is a bit bulky, but it's a simple form, befitting of a rider or a warrior that's from the past. Not a lot of, like, flashy, crazy things. I haven't seen 4s yet, but like his belt is literally an arcade setup or something on his waist, and it's like I have no idea what's going on there. But I like the simplicity of Kuuga's outfit.
I like how the thing about the 4's belt is I just love how it's introduced. Somebody just walks up to the main character and slaps it on and just says, "And now you henshin," and he goes, "What?" You'll fucking love it.
I'm sure I will. And a really cool thing about the fights in Kuuga is that there's a lot of collateral damage. Like, it's not super flashy. It's like two dudes beating each other up. Just like they're in close quarters combat, and it's really interesting. Like, I like when we get to it, I like Kabuto, and Kabuto's really flashy. But I also like the fights in Kuuga for basically the opposite reason. Like, they're basically down and dirty. Like, you get into it.
The thing is that, like, because all the monsters in the future series are, like, flashy, and obviously because it's a kid's show, but we still like it anyway. And it's like slightly more catered towards kids as the series goes on. What ends up happening is because the monsters are flashy, they're more pronounced, and thus everybody is kind of like seeing the monster and going, "Oh, hey, it's a monster," and then they all start running away, and then it's kind of like it follows a formula. They run away, because they're running away, we know where the monster is, so they go, or the heroes go fight it before it actually does anything serious. In this show, because they're toned down so much, they get away with doing so much more damage to society than any other series that I've watched, other than Agito. Like, Agito has, like, the exact same tone as this.
Isn't it the Rider series that's right after this one?
Yes, it is.
So that's probably why.
Yeah.
I really like, so eventually, Kuuga's fighting the spider monster, and they're on top of the police building, and they're going at it, and the police summon a helicopter to have our boy Ichijo snipe at both of them. Because at this, no one actually, the weird thing is no one actually saw Yusuke transform, except for his friend.
Aside from his friend, everybody, like, anybody who could have possibly have seen him was already dead. So
dead, unconscious, or otherwise not there. So no one knows that our boy here, Kuuga, is actually one of the good guys. So they start referring to them as number 1 and number 2, or unidentified life form, number 1 and number 2. So they start ordering people firing at them. But eventually the spider, like, gets annoyed and tries to jump on the helicopter and attack the police officers. But Kuuga, he jumps in and he starts helping. And he gives the police officer, he gives Ichijo the thumbs up. And he's like, I remember a guy who gave me a thumbs up a little earlier today.
In fact, I may have saw him like 5 minutes ago at the police station or something.
Yeah, so funnily enough, Kuuga is basically found out by our main cop friend Ichijo, Detective San, like right away, and
as any competent policeman should be able to do.
Yes, he was able to figure it out. He was just like, hey, you shouldn't be fighting the monsters. That's the police's job. And Yusuke's just like, no, I can fight too.
Yeah, and then that leads into episode 2.
That leads into episode 2, where basically a vampire is happening. He's basically a vampire bat monster. And I still have no idea why that woman... Why? Oh yeah, I have it written here. Why is this woman here? This woman gets out of her car in the parking lot of a church in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Dude, God, no. In Japan... For real, what is even she thinking? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like I understand, like, they needed a victim, but like that was probably.
See, the problem is.
Hold on, wait. I have a note here that says "Bears don't explode." Do you remember that?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I remember what bears don't explode. So, fuck. Okay, we gotta stop. I'll
catch up eventually.
So in order to cover up the fight at the police station, they said a bear broke into the police station and attacked people, and then No, they said that a gas line exploded.
But because you guys are gonna hear this a lot from me, because I wasn't paying attention, the only two words that I got were bear and explosion. So I was like, what? A bear exploded?
That's right. It took me a second.
That was the best part of that episode.
Yeah. So I had to figure out
second best episode.
Oh, I know what your favorite episode is already.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it like 30 minutes ago.
So this is in the beginning of the episode. Isn't this where he's like sleeping in the Denny's or whatever, and he's just like eating the salt?
No. He's talking with his researcher friend, and they're talking about Kuuga stuff, and then like I'm looking at Godai, and he picks up a salt shaker, shakes it onto his hand, and licks it, and I'm like, I look at Scott and I go, this is that is so obviously a thing where it's like they had done that take like 40 or 50 times, and then they figured that the scene was perfect just so happenly on the one where he's like kind of doing whatever he wants on set, and he's like he's probably said his line like 100 times, so he knows what it is. And he goes, I wonder if this is real salt or something like that, or maybe he just wants to taste the salt and just do whatever. And it's like,
yes. So they're talking about that, and blah blah blah. Bears don't explode. They're talking about the relics, like his crazy belt that like got absorbed into his body. And he's like, no, it's all good. I'm not dying. Should be fine.
Oh, I want to go back and say the only reason the victim had to be at a church parking lot in the middle of the night is because the vampire monster's one weakness is obviously sunlight. So you got to have the attack happen during the night.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like all the monsters have like either really specific weaknesses or like quirks, like the one that doesn't like the sound of running engines, or the one that doesn't like smoke.
Yeah,
stuff like that. Oh right, I have the thing about the earring. So when we see the vampire attack the lady, he does this character tick. His character tick is that he flicks this earring on his ear, and that's important for later. So they're talking about the woman being attacked at the church, and God, I don't remember exactly how it goes, but we get some more like talking about the monsters, the unidentified life forms, and I think we're talking about the police are talking about covering it up for right now because they're not exactly sure of how they're going to proceed. Because they're like, these things, we never fought these things before. Like, what are we gonna do? And they get into starting basically a special task force.
If this was in America and like a monster attacked a public building, we would super be on the news, be like, monster attacked building. What are these monsters? Well, they do. You'd be seeing that on every news station.
Oh, absolutely. There would no cover ups whatsoever. We'd be like extra monster. Who's got a rider belt? Who's ready to do the thing? I just have one note that just says Ichijo is great. Is that just because he was just like
It's because it's probably because he ate the salt.
No, Ichijo, not Godai.
Oh, Ichijo.
Detective-san.
It's probably because he single-handedly figured out that the monster is the priest in disguise.
Yes, even though he didn't see this creepy-ass priest, like, hiding behind corners, and then he does the earring flick that we as the viewers know, always the vampire.
Because, they didn't even show his investigation either, and, that part actually makes me feel like, or I actually kind of like that, I like it a lot. Because it's just implying that he can do the detective thing and he figured it out without showing us that he could figure it out. Because God knows it would have been a fucking 30-minute episode of him walking around fucking asking people things, and then if they actually if they actually showed the investigation, at some point Godai would have showed up, kind of putzed around, and then maybe revealed something, and that would have been stupid.
Yeah, no, but basically, Ichijo just shows up to the church in the middle of the night with a shotgun, ready to blow this monster's brains out. Like, holy shit. And Yusuke, he figures it out a little bit later. I think he hears about it or something like that.
But he hears about it. He shows up at a crime scene, and then he walks in there. He breaks into the church.
And that's when he meets the creepy priest.
Yes, the priest is about to fucking eat his face off. And but then
little ray of sunlight.
But then as soon as he touches sunlight, he's like, "Oh nope, can't, just can't."
Absolutely cannot. Like he starts hissing and he does the vampire thing.
Yeah.
But now here we are at Ichijo in the middle of the night, breaking into the church with a shotgun, ready to blow this monster's brains out. And the vampire bat obviously ain't having that shit. This thing is he starts attacking Ichijo, and he knocks him into some candles, and basically
immediately catches the entire church on fire.
Basically the entire church on fire. So then Godai already has a motorcycle, by the way, before he became a Kamen Rider.
I mean, majority of them ride motorcycles before.
Yeah, but so he breaks through the church doors with his motorcycle, eats shit and falls, and then his motorcycle slides into the fire and, like a fucking Pinto, explodes in the church, setting double everything on fire. Like, everything's on fire twice now.
And on top of all that, he lost his house keys.
Oh yeah, he did in fact lose his house keys. You're right, he did lose his house keys. I forgot about that because of the next episode. But we're still talking about this. So he starts he puts the fire on Ichijo's coat out, and he's telling him that he's resolved to fight. Like, he's not gonna half-ass it anymore. And he says, "Let me show you my henshin." And then we get, like, probably one of my favorite actual scenes in the show, where he does his new pose, like his pose,
yeah,
amidst all the fire and the flames. And then he does his thing, and he doesn't. I don't think he says henshin at first. Like, he doesn't start saying henshin until a little bit later.
Yeah, he doesn't start saying it till like.
But later. He starts fighting the bat, and it does the thing where he starts fighting the bat, and when he makes contact with his fists and kicks, the armor starts forming, and now we've got a new form. We've got Mighty Form, which is the official name, where it's red and it's got the more pronounced horn, and this is basically default Kuuga. Like, this is Kuuga as a jack of all trades. Like, it's got decent speed, decent power, decent defenses. It's the point is.
I mean, it probably excels at power a little bit more than everything else.
One of his later form, but two of his later forms are explicitly not even his ultimate form. Pegasus and Titan are explicitly more powerful. It's just that Mighty is faster than Titan, and it doesn't fucking wreck him like Pegasus does. Mm-hmm. But those two are explicitly more powerful.
But their strength comes down to, like, their weapons, though.
Yeah. But they're still more powerful in terms of damage output. Yeah. In terms of damage output, those two forms are actually stronger. The downside to Mighty Form, like the quote-unquote downside, is that it doesn't have a weapon. Like, he has to fight barehanded. Unlike the other later forms, where he gets a weapon of some sort, depending on what he picks up. And the fight with the vampire bat is actually a little interesting because he doesn't kill it.
Halfway through the fight, he gets interrupted by the spider monster.
Oh yeah, the spider monster comes back.
They kind of 2v1 him a bit until Detective San comes in with the shotgun assist.
And suddenly it's the middle of the day.
Oh, no, it's not the middle of the day. You pointed out to me that there was a time counter that said 5:30 in the morning.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, it seemed like it was suddenly in the middle of the day, but its sun rose while they were fighting inside the building.
Yes, so the vampire bat scooped out, like he didn't...
Oh, by the way, they stopped fighting in the church, because it's obviously on fire. They went to some random construction site.
Yeah, they start fighting in the construction site, and we see more collateral damage. It's getting really in there. Oh yeah, how long have they fought? That's one of the things. So after he finally defeats the spider monster, we kind of cut to the gay baiting of the show. Where Ichijo is basically dying on the ground, and he's just... Godai just, like, props him up on him, like, and they're just kind of, like, snuggling, watching the sunrise, and Ichijo's like, what has my life become?
Oh, it's not as good as the gay moment that happens later.
Oh, you're talking about the doctor?
Yes.
Oh my god, I love the doctor friend. So in the next episode, we get our first look at the monsters in their not monster forms. Interestingly enough, they actually have forms that resemble humans, and they sure do have a fashion sense. All right,
they are a bunch of very stylish people, all like. If they were in, I don't know, if this was like Japan in the 70s, you just add a tad bit of weird, bam, you'd have these monsters.
Probably something.
They probably would have been far more successful at hiding than they actually were.
Yeah, as I read, they're basically scrounging clothes up from scraps, essentially. So that's kind of it. But also,
I just assumed that the clothes were a part of their transformation because when they transform, the clothes go with them.
Yeah, that's true. And this is the part where the police start talking about more of the monsters. They call the Bat One monster number 3, and they call Mighty Form Kuuga number 4 because they specifically do mention that it looks like number 2, but it's different. So they denote it as Daisan or Daiyongo or number 4, and it's interesting because they actually literally have a picture of Kuuga. Number 4 fighting the spider monster, and they're just like, are they working together? But the funniest part is the picture is literally Kuuga mid-punching the monster in the face. So obviously the police's thought processes were, this is obviously some bizarre mating ritual.
No, you do not take my joke out of context, sir. We just said, obviously, they're working together. It's later when he meets up with number 5 and they're circling each other, ready to fucking fight. It's like, now we see them commencing their bizarre mating ritual.
There you go, that's it. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I just have, like, all of my notes here together and whatever. Why do I have breaking and entering after? What happened? What was breaking and entering in the episode after? In episode 3?
It's when he doesn't have his house keys and he breaks into the diner.
Yes, he does.
And then halfway through breaking into the diner, the store or the owner comes out and goes, "There's my Yosuke always breaking into my store."
Yeah, I haven't seen you scaling my walls in years. And he's just like, "Oh, you got me, old man." And that's like his family friend. Like, he's not related to him in any way, but he kind of works at the diner, but he also kind of see. It's never really made clear what Yusuke does for a living, because a lot of the time he's helping.
I feel like he literally just bums everything off of other people. Like he's like hasn't had a job. He continues to not have a job. He continues to... I don't even know how he has money now. He doesn't do anything other than transform and fight monsters.
He did go to university. Like,
and then he dropped out, though.
Did he drop out?
Yeah. Because he was going to law school or some bullshit.
I don't remember. I don't remember them saying...
No, the joke was that he went to law school.
You're right.
Because sometimes they talk about him going to university, and then like a little bit later he does something stupid, and then I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if he actually had a bachelor's degree in law or something?
Right. Oh yeah, this is where we first start learning about the motorcycle. I think this is one of the first times we meet Ichijo's little partner, his greenhorn,
his kohai,
his little kohai. I don't even remember his name.
I don't know either, but he's shown up in enough episodes for me to remember him.
Yeah, he's a little awkward, but he's a good kid. Good kid.
I wouldn't even say awkward. I would say he's just filled with a lot of energy, and like he's really eager to help out Ichijo, like all the time.
Yep.
And every time the police does something, he goes, "It's a good thing." It's like, "Oh man, I like working for the police. My dream job. They did this cool new thing that I'm super excited about because I'm in the police."
Yeah, he's a really cool character. I like him, even though he's like super background. Only shows up occasionally.
Oh yeah, the one time that they had a scene where they talked about him, and then after they hung up after the conversation's over. Like, he's like, is he there? No, he's doing these other things that, like, are supposedly supporting you. Oh, well, like, could you let him know that I'm looking for him? And then, like, when the conversation's over, he's just in the background.
Oh, like, he pops up from under his desk. He's, like, looking for something. But yeah, not much happened in this episode. It was a lot of talking. We get a little bit more about basic character stuff. Like, we meet the store owner. This is one of the more prominent examples of Ichijo's kohai. And it's mostly just a character building episode. Not much to say. But then we get the next episode where Kuuga has to fight number 5, unknown life form number 5,
who takes the form of a cheetah monster.
Yeah, it's really fast. And isn't this the one where it just punts a dude into a ceiling?
I don't remember, honestly.
I'm pretty sure this is the one where it punts a dude into it just punts a dude.
Wait, what does it say? What does the note say?
Oh, I don't think I wrote that one down. I was looking at the one for the next episode because you said you would remember it, and I'll say it when we get to that. But
write it down, I'll remember.
That's literally what he said about this next thing, but I don't want to say it now.
Okay.
But so he has to fight the cheetah thing, and he's just not fast enough. Like,
because it keeps running in circles around him.
Yeah, So I guess Ichijo thinks, hey, you remember that super motorcycle that we were talking about before? Or no, we're not there yet, because the episode ends when they're surrounded by the cops.
Yeah, they're surrounded by the cops, and they're all like, shoot Kuuga!
Yeah, so my obviously the thought process is, well, that's number 4 and that's number 5. Number 4 showed up first, so let's shoot him first.
I mean, you could just split your forces 50-50 and shoot both of them, but
no, gotta shoot the hero, gotta be dramatic. But so for an interesting thing, the cheetah actually does get wounded by a bullet. It
gets shot right in the eyeball too.
Got shot right in the eyeball, and it caused actual permanent damage.
Because when you shoot things in the eye, it generally tends to work.
It's true. My good boy Midoriya taught me that in Hiroaka.
There's an eyeball shooting, and
yeah. Remember when the slime monster in episode 2? He takes his backpack and he beans it in the eye.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh yeah, we're gonna hear that a lot.
No, the thing that we're gonna hear a lot is I wasn't paying attention.
That too. But yeah, we find out that it's not that the bullets are completely ineffective. It's just that their hides are too thick. I think it's around this time. Oh no, that's in a couple episodes when we start talking about guns.
Yeah.
So it's about this time that the police are deciding that they're going to start telling the populace about these unidentified life forms. In number 4 specifically, mainly because they're kind of starting to realize that it's helping them. They're not 100% on it, but
they're talking about the hypothetical, and Detective San says, like, well, I believe it because he helped me out, and they say, but do you have proof? And he's like,
do you have proof he saved your life? Well,
I'm in the room right now, so I don't know.
Kind of not dead.
But like, because he doesn't have any actual solid evidence, it kind of still just sticks as a theory.
Yep. But because of this life debt, Ichijo decides to let Godai have access to this prototype police-developed super motorcycle that's just better than other motorcycles because his old one exploded in the church.
Yeah, every Kamen Rider's got to have a motorcycle.
Yeah, you can't be a rider without something to ride on, obviously. So they literally walk into the police department. He hands them the special key handlebars and says, "Don't fuck this up," essentially, and lets him go.
And then Godai gets on the bike while still in the police station, henshins, and drives off with it.
Oh, it was perfect.
And then I was like, what if they had like one security camera that may have been pointed at the bike? But no. God apparently, I don't know anything.
Nope. What would you know about security? Are you a security personnel?
No, I only worked a job where security was super important, and we actually had cameras for stuff like that.
Oh no, you have no idea what you're talking about. Obviously.
Yeah.
So he fights the monster in a fairly impressive scene where he rides the bike for like 80% of it.
Yes, just gotta sell that toy.
Gotta sell the toy. Gotta sell that he's a rider on a motorcycle. And he's doing some interesting stunts with it. But I'm sitting here realizing, like, wait, can't the cheetah just, like, run away? But I guess it just really wants to fight Kuuga. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of humiliated him a bit. I mean, there was the part, like, God, like, it was literally just beating up policemen because they shot it in the eyeball, so, like...
Not just beating up policemen, ripping out their eyes.
Oh, yeah.
It was specifically going eye for an eye,
yeah.
Except it was ripping out 2 eyes and murdering them for its 1 eye. Well, you shot my eye out? Well, I guess I'll just take 2 and your life, whatever.
Oh, man.
And this is where we get one of the other main police characters. I forget his name.
Honestly, had that cheetah known it was in Japan, it just would have took their eyeballs and left, because then those policemen would have been a husk of the men that they used to be, and they would just be really sad that they let the monster gouge out their eyes, and they probably would have committed suicide at some point.
Oh my god. But yeah, and then this is where we get our first instance of the rider kick. Like, he sort of does it by accident. Like, he sort of gets, like, knocked down, and as he's getting up, the monster tries to pounce on it. So he just does, like, a rising kick. And it was just so strong that Kuuga's mark, like, a little mark that denotes that he's Kuuga, appears on the monster's body, and the energy surges through the monster, and it explodes and shatters everywhere. And and we know it's the rider kick because we zoom in on his smoking boot. Like, this is his rider kick. This is his Hisatsu.
It's pretty much just, like, finally the belt, like, responds, like, his fighting spirit escalates to the point where the belt is finally responding in the, like, finishing strike that he actually needs.
Yes. And this is also important because when he goes to the doctor specifically says that the belt is changing his musculature and his biology in some fashion, particularly in his right leg. Like, he does, in fact, make a specific mention towards the muscles in his right leg being more pronounced.
I don't remember that, honestly.
I do. Obviously, this doesn't change anything in the actor. It's just something science-y that they're saying. Like, it's just, whatever. There's no actual visual change in Yusuke to denote that he's any stronger, like, visually. Like, obviously, as Kuuga, he is stronger than a normal human. But, okay, so now we get into the next episode, and I just have Chamalama Ding Dong. Please tell me you remember that. You specifically said you would remember this.
I don't. What's the next bullet point?
Grasshopper and Scarf. You're right, because he fights another monster that's a grasshopper type, and it starts jumping around, and it sort of has a scarf in its human form. You remember that? And he has the afro.
I remember that. The thing is, like, I don't remember the Shovelog Dig Dug, even though I said I would.
Oh, you monster!
I know.
But so the grasshopper is killing people by basically grabbing them by the neck, jumping up super high, and then just dropping them. That is how he is murdering people. And
that, and only that, by the way.
Yeah, he's not doing anything else to the people. So people are initially thinking that it's just a rush of suicides, but then like a eyewitness account just says, "Oh, it's one of the unidentified life forms, number 6." And
no, well, I think also they get somebody says, but this is a very particularly high amount of suicides, even for this season, though.
Yeah, because unfortunately, Japan does have a very high suicide rate.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we're starting to figure out that the monsters are just are killing people for a reason of some sort. Because we also, I think, do we meet the Rose Lady yet?
I think so.
Yeah, we're trying to go. I stopped taking notes after a little bit.
Mostly because, like, the first time we sat down to do this, he brought out a notebook, and then every other time I was like, we would just come home from getting lunch or something like that and go, well, let's watch some Kuuga. And then I'll put it on, and then he just wouldn't get the notebook, and I wouldn't care.
Yeah, because because right now we're hitting like the formulaic phase. There's a few interesting things that we'll remember, like later on when we the teacher.
Oh,
we'll get there. But so this grasshopper thing, it's just jumping too high and it's moving too fast. And Yusuke can't keep up. Like, literally the grasshopper thing jumps on top of a building with, like, a huge-ass fire escape. And he's basically, like, going, come at me, bro. And Yusuke is just like, I gotta run up all these stairs. And periodically the monster will come in and start wrecking his shit.
And then jump away.
And it's about this time, it was also in this episode that he was fighting with his translator friend. Who's like, Yusuke, I don't want you to fight. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Yusuke, I don't want you to fight. It's too dangerous. And he's just like, oh no, just treat it like it's normal. Just treat everything normally. And then that was like a big issue. Like she didn't.
Honestly, in that episode, I was particularly more upset that she was having an actual like normal response to a situation, and then he was just trying to play it off that it's not bizarre.
I remember what Chamalama Ding Dong was.
What?
It was the conversation on the phone about the mountains. The Himalayas or whatever.
Yeah, he's trying to say, like, okay, so the store owner is talking about his adventures around the world.
On Everest to Ichijo, because Ichijo calls the diner looking for Yusuke.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking to the store owner, and
after he says like Himalaya's wrong, me and Scott I think bounced back and forth on like
it wasn't that, it was he said Shyamalan or whatever, you remember?
Yeah, something like Shimalayas. He says Shimalayas.
No, he was talking about Everest and the other name for Everest, the Chamaron or whatever.
I don't know.
You knew it.
No, it's. Well, the thing, like, I was thinking that because, like, he was saying, like, Himalayas, like the Himalayas, and then, like...
But
because the word came by so fast, I didn't actually read it, so I said, so I looked at Scott and said, write down Shamalama Ding Dong, and he goes, why? And he goes, I'm like, I'll remember.
And then you didn't.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so this is where the main powers of Kuuga start coming in. So he has to fight the monster, but he just can't catch up. Like, unlike the cheetah, this isn't like a ground race. This is like a strict agility type thing. And
then he clenches his butt and says, I need to
jump high.
I need to jump high so I can catch this guy. And then the belt responds by turning him blue and giving him the ability to jump.
Yes, dragon form is what it's called. And he starts fighting the monster, and he goes, oh, my punches aren't... At first, it was really funny because we're watching it, and he starts hitting the monster and punching it, and the monster is just kind of no-selling it Hulk Hogan style. And I go, that's really interesting, because dragon form is weaker, but they don't really explicitly say it. And then 2 seconds later, Yusuke is just like, oh, my punches aren't doing anything anymore. And I go, crap! So he realizes that while he's faster in this dragon form, he can't do as much damage. So the grasshopper monster gets away. And then this is when he's still fighting with his translator friend, who's refusing to do these translations on this ancient text, and
on the grounds that her translating it will just motivate him to fight more.
Yes, and so eventually that kind of just gets resolved after she talks to his sister.
Yeah, she talks to his sister, and then just kind of like just says, I just resolved to help him because he's just gonna do this anyway.
Yeah, exactly. She realizes that Yusuke is just gonna be the hero anyway. That's just who he is, so she may as well support him fully. And the sister we're talking about is Yusuke's sister, Minori, who works as a caretaker at a daycare center for children. And the children love Yusuke. He's a friend to all living things. He's a perfect angel, too pure for this world. Yada yada. And so Sakurako-san does more translations, and she finds like a sentence that's something along the lines of "the spirit of water fights with long objects."
It's the one time it fucking happens, and I want them to do it for every form, but no.
Oh, are you talking about the spirit of X?
Wait, spirit of X does blank.
They didn't do it for either of the other forms?
Nope.
Oh, you're right, they didn't.
Well, they didn't do it in that format. They did it for green, and that's when they were like, oh, it does a thing, and then it does the thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. So when the grasshopper monster shows up again, because it's only showing up in the smoke area, or the away from the smoke, right?
No, that's the bee.
Oh, that's the bee. That's the bee. What was his thing? Like what?
I think he is just outright running away.
That's weird.
Cause, like, I don't remember. Like, it was probably running away for something stupid.
Yeah. It was just one of those things. It was just running away for some reason. So, or was yeah. So it was just No, yeah, it just ran away. It was really weird. So,
I mean, it probably just figured out that Kuuga wasn't a real threat and then just kind of fucked off.
Yeah, you're right. So then the next time it shows up, he starts fighting, and I think he automatically turns straight into dragon form, because the belt is more like reacting to his fighter instincts. Like, you gotta use this form. This is the form that will beat him. So he starts struggling, and then that's when his friend shows up and goes, or that's when Sakurako-san shows up and goes, "You have to use the long object. You have to fight him with the long object." And he goes, "Long object? What?" And then like a piece of a fence gets knocked away, and he like picks it up, and it transforms into this staff. And he's just like, "Oh, I can fight with this now." So he starts whooping this grasshopper's ass.
Gotta sell more toy.
Gotta sell more toy. Gotta sell the accessory. Gotta accessorize.
Yeah.
So he's fighting the grasshopper thing, and he finishes off with the Hisatsu Dragon Splash, and got a pose for the camera. It's all super cool, and then everything is resolved. The grasshopper was a pretty cool enemy. I liked how it was killing people in a way that didn't immediately draw super attention.
Oh, yeah.
But then we get to the bee. What was intense staring? Oh, this is when they're inside the aquarium that you specifically mentioned that they used later.
Oh yeah,
the Grongi.
Yeah, They meet up in their human forms at an aquarium, and then they're just like they're yelling at each other in that backwards pseudo Japanese language, and then finally they're just like, then they're just staring at each other for some reason.
Yeah, it was intense staring. Oh, I think it was at the bat because the bat. All right, so I keep saying like I know why. But basically, after the bat lost, he can't go out and kill people anymore.
Not allowed to. People much higher than him on the totem pole said, "Nope, you sit your bitch ass down."
Yes, he is not allowed to go out and murder people.
We will continue to go about this one person at a time until eventually everything is done.
Yes, whatever this thing is.
He super knows what the thing is. I still don't know what the thing is at the time of this recording.
Well, you know what it's called now because they mentioned it in the other episode.
I don't remember. They said it once, and I was like, "Oh, now we know the thing." And then I forgot what it was because they said it the once.
Yes. So this is where we meet the lady in the roses. They're the big flowery thing, and she has like a ring with a big fucking horn on it that unlocks a belt that I guess grants them access to new power or something. I don't actually know. I don't actually remember why that is, but it had something to do with maybe powering them up.
If I had to take a guess with what I know now, it's like the belt is a part of the ritual that they're doing.
Yeah.
And when she touches the horn to them, that's the horn like basically sending the signal to the belt that they're going to start their thing.
Yeah.
And then the belt actually starts counting.
Yes. So now we have this new bee monster, and the bee monster is also kind of killing people as a sniper.
It's a very particular way that had a bunch of inattentive people showed up. Never figured it out.
Yes. Basically, it looked like people were dying from anaphylactic shock. They were, but they were also dying from their brains and hearts being simultaneously pierced.
Yeah, the anaphylactic shock is just a side effect of it happening to be a bee monster.
Yes. So basically what it's doing is it's flying super high into the sky and then using its stinger to snipe a person from directly above their head. And then they
this is perfect above their head.
Yes.
If it's not, I could argue that it's not even shooting the bee the stinger. It's just dropping it straight down.
No, I think it's shooting. No, it is shooting.
Well, it is shooting, but you could argue that from how precise it's doing it, all it needs to do is just drop it.
Yeah, exactly. It's and then we're talking. I think this is also the other super gay baiting moment where they're talking at the doctor office with Tsubaki, Ichijo's doctor friend.
I think it's a later episode because I remember it more fresher than all the other stuff.
Oh, you're right. But yeah, it's that's how it's killing people, and Yusuke, he can't really keep up with it. Again, it's flying. It's just flying away, and I don't know. They're
kind of fighting. It's got the agility on top of being able to fly, so Yusuke's having a hard time, and then right when it's about to have its decisive blow, it just runs away.
That's the smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the smoke out of a tower drives it away because it doesn't like the smoke.
Yeah.
And so then they actually use that to figure out where its next attack pattern is going. Like, where it's going to attack.
That they specifically have a map that shows every instance that every instant and time it attacked, figured out that there's a specific direction and time interval between attacks, so then they use the chart to figure out where its next attack is. It's not because of the smoke.
Yes. And then why do I have child murder here? Is this where you think all the kids are Satans?
Yes! No, I call them all Satans later, but this is where for some reason his sister is having a crisis in this episode or something about him fighting monsters.
No. It was the daughter of one of the researchers from the beginning. And she had a thing?
No, it's specifically his sister. It's his sister, because the child murder thing isn't a part of the researcher's daughter. It's a part of his sister's story. So clearly this happened in a different episode. This had to have happened in a different episode.
No. But the entire reason they had to find the girl was because she was outside and the monster had regained his stinger.
That has nothing to do with the sister thing I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. So what the fuck happened with the sister? I don't know. All I remember is she was about to be bludgeoned over the face with a book wielded by a devil child.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll get to that later. I will go hard into that later. But some researcher's daughter shows up after one of the deceased researchers, daughter and wife, go to the police station to talk to Detective Ichigo.
No. Oh yeah, they do, but they also go to the university.
And they talk to him, and he's got his hands full with his monster task force and having to deal with all these monsters, and it just so happens that the researcher's death happened to be involved in this. So then the daughter gets super butthurt that he is not devoting 110% of his time to figuring out this mystery that is at this point in time actually unsolvable, and solving it right now, that she's like, we need to go somewhere else to talk to some other people. And then he goes, oh, hey, I got this record. Just drop it off with these people because they're helping me with it, and they can actually look. They'll actually know what they're looking at. I don't particularly know what I'm looking at. And then they go to the university. They talk to
Yusuke and Sakurako, and then also our other side character who we haven't mentioned before, Jean.
He did show up before, but he's like he doesn't start doing anything until now.
Yes, Jean, who's like a half white guy who kind of knows a little bit of Japanese.
This is a tall white foreigner who happens to work there, probably because he did his major, happened to speak Japanese, and found the ad in the paper that added them together.
Exactly. So he literally walks in on their conversation, and he goes, "Hey, this relic, it's gonna help us become literal famous." And then everyone in the room is just like, that relic is from Nakanohara or whatever it was. And he goes, "Oh, I remember that place is here in Japan. You should let us study this more." Like he specifically doesn't realize, he doesn't connect that the tragedy of the incident that happened in the beginning happened in Nakanohara or wherever it was.
And on top of that, he says the line that this will make us famous as a joke.
No, he was serious about it.
No, he said he does claim later that I only meant it as a joke.
Oh, okay.
But he doesn't understand that it's involved in a very serious situation that affects people very seriously.
Particularly this wife and daughter's dead patriarchal figure, the dead man in their life.
Yes, and so
she runs away.
She runs away.
And she calls the police saying, "If you don't find out literal everything, I will be killed." And everyone's just like, "Oh my god!" Because they wanted to find out number 0. The number 0 was the monster that killed everyone at the research site, which they only have shaky video cam footage of.
Yeah.
She's like, "I want you to find number 0 right now, or I'm going to die."
And as the police did, as they should, and just they kind of remarked about it, but then didn't really take any serious action.
Yes, it took our friends here, Godai and Sakurako-san and Ichijo, to help solve the situation. So they find the girl who's literally about to be sniped by the bee monster, and
I will point out that I straight up don't remember him commenting on her shells while she's at the university. And I was like, how does he know that she's out in this specific coastal region? And then they flash back to him going, "Oh, those shells are really pretty. They're from this region. They're from this region." And then he knows exactly where to go.
That's right, because she likes seashells because her father liked seashells or some sentimental reason, whatever. Yeah. So They go to the beach and they save her from being sniped, but then they still can't fight the bee because it's flying above the clouds essentially. So Yusuke is just gotta shoot, gotta shoot, gotta get him. So he turns green. He turns into Pegasus form.
Oh, this isn't the first time. He turns Pegasus form in the first fight.
Oh yeah, that's
right.
And
it's the problem is he gets sensory
overload.
He gets sensory overload because of how the form specifically works.
Yeah, the form specifically works by increasing his.
And that's the reason why he was getting his shit pushed in, and then the bee left just because of the smoke.
That's right. Yeah, it makes him focus. It makes him see and hear better and stuff like that.
Then Ichijo gets a phone call after he turns into Pegasus form and says, "Give him a gun!" And then Ichijo tosses his gun to Yusuke and then Yusuke, it turns it into a bow,
A crossbow.
and then kills the bee in one shot.
Yes, his Hisatsu Pegasus Blast. And this is also an episode where they're equipping the police force with Sig Sauers and heavier duty firearms specifically to fight.
It's the next episode.
I have marksmanship right here because remember they're in the shooting range.
Oh yeah, because one of my favorite things about this show, when a monster dies, it doesn't disintegrate and cease to exist. It leaves bits of body parts around, and then they pick it up. They pick up the bits and actually do research on it to develop weapons.
Yes, they realize that bullets do hurt it. They just need stronger piercing power, so they just give the police officers bigger guns while they work on it all. And Ichijo at the shooting range specifically remarks that the bigger kickback has to take some getting used to. Then proceeds to just fucking almost perfect shot.
He does one shot, it's off by a bit, and then like his body does like 2 or 3 shots.
They're way off.
They're way off, and then Ichijo just fucking just used to the gun already.
Yeah,
he shot it one time, and
no, it was like 3 more shots, and they got progressively closer to the heart, to the center of the target. It was really cool to see that the police aren't like basically sitting back and letting Kuuga do all the work. It's also cool because this is around the time when the public starts seeing Kuuga, or as they know him, as number 4. They start seeing number 4 as like a heroic figure who fights the other monsters. Like, they don't see him as a bad guy.
They specifically call him number 4 and never refer to him as Kuuga.
Yeah, they never refer... The only person who knows that he's referred to as Kuuga is Yusuke and maybe Sakurako.
And Detective-san.
And Detective-san. And
yeah.
I think the doctor, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every time he starts telling people, oh, this is... He starts painting the Kuuga mark on the police prototype super motorcycle that he still has and rides on the street in his civilian identity. And when the police ask Ichijo, like when his super boss asks him, why does number 4 have our super motorcycle? And Ichijo's just like, I felt like I had to give it to him because for the betterment of mankind.
And then his boss goes, okay, you got but if he does anything, you're going down. And
I'm like, man, I'm almost actually surprised that he isn't immediately fired like -2 days ago. Like, I just gave our super prototype away for free.
What possible achievements could he have done to have netted him enough like positive karma to not get fired from the police for stealing their super prototype to fight the monsters
in Japan? And that is a very, very loyalty-based workforce. Like in Japan, loyalty is basically everything. If you betray your boss, forget promotions, forget raises.
You're probably going to be fired. You're more likely going to be fired.
Yeah, if you're not fired, forget all of that other bonus shit. Like, you're just done for.
If you're not fired, you're probably demoted.
Exactly. Like, he had to have amassed extra good karma, like ridiculous. He is heading up the task force.
This is before he started heading up the task force.
Was it?
Yeah, they established it later.
Oh, you're right. But, yeah, like, he Jesus. So he starts painting so Yusuke here starts painting Kuuga's mark on like his clothes, his jacket, on his motorcycle, and he's telling people this is the mark of Kuuga, and no one knows who it is.
And he does the smart thing and doesn't explain it to anybody. He just says, this is Kuuga, and then he just shakes his head smiling like a fucking idiot. And everybody's like, what? What?
Yep. So that was so let's see, that was Pegasus form. This is where my notes end for like the next 15 episodes.
Yeah, we watched another like 10 episodes and without the notebook.
No, that was episode 6, and we're on episode 21 now.
I thought we were on episode like 17.
No, we're on episode 21.
Oh my fucking god!
Yeah, we went 15 episodes without.
I mean, nothing of super significance actually happens.
No, that's not true. The teacher.
Okay, so okay, now that we're flying blind.
Oh yeah, now we're flying blind. Well, first we have to go into the next episode where he gets his fourth and final newest form, Titan form. So it's the one with the squid monster that shoots exploding ink.
Yes.
I don't exactly remember, but it was basically a monster that shot exploding ink. He has to tank the blows, but he can't because he's not defend enough. He's not guard enough.
No, what it is like it hits him and it does lots of damage, and he decides for some reason that using a sword or a weapon or a sword of some kind will help him.
Oh, that's right, because the monster's hide was super rubbery and his punches were basically bouncing off, so he needed a slashing weapon. Yeah,
so Ichijo goes, "Oh, you need to
learn Kendo.
You need to learn Kendo." And then Yusuke's like, "I do." And then it cuts to them two doing Kendo practice. Yusuke's just kind of not getting it, and they decide to take a break, run off, do a little bit of self-discovering, and then Yusuke calls him back to the Kendo studio.
Shows him his new strategy for Kendo.
Yes, which is literally just take every hit until you get an opening, and then attack.
Which is not how actual Kendo works. In actual Kendo is a point-based sport, and when you land a blow, then you get points.
Round ends, you get points based on your blow, and then you reset.
Exactly. Like, that's not actual Kendo. Like, yes, and also in an actual sword fight, you'd be fucking dead unless you're Kuuga, apparently.
So then he comes across the squid monster and is like, "I'm just going to take every hit." And then the belt responds in kind by giving him a form that can just take every hit.
Yeah, Titan form. It moves super slow, denoted by the fact that every time he goes into Titan form, he never
walks
runs
at a brisk pace.
Not barely brisk. Like he Jason Voorhees walks towards his opponent like
I want an episode where he transforms into Titan form and the monster like starts running away and then trips trips like 5,000 times and just catches up.
And what's interesting about the forms of Kuuga is that whenever he needs a weapon for dragon form or Pegasus form or Titan form, he has to pick up something that resembles what the Kuuga version of the weapon is. For dragon form, super easy. He just picks up something long and it turns into the dragon staff. For Pegasus form, it does have to be a real gun for it to turn into the Pegasus bow.
A crossbow or a gun of some kind.
Yeah, it does have to be an actual firing weapon to turn into the thing. And in Titan form, he just pulls out. So his motorcycle's key is actually one of the handlebars, which is actually kind of cool.
It's a mix between a handlebar and an actual like police baton, like that extends out.
Yep. And
when he grabs it and like holds it as a baton, it turns into the sword.
The Titan sword, yeah. And I thought that was super cool. So it basically said, with dragon form, he basically always has access to the staff because there's all sorts of things that you can just pick up on the ground that could be a staff. And there's and then with his motorcycle, he has the key baton that is basically always going to be his sword. The gun is a little bit more tricky, but he basically has access to 2 of his 3 weaponized forms at all times, essentially. And that's super cool. I felt that was like a really neat touch. So yeah, he turns into the purple form, Titan form, and he just walks towards the monster. And the monster's just like, maybe if I just keep shooting him with exploding ink, he'll die. And just no. And then Yusuke gets up close and does his Titan forms Hisatsu, the Calamity Titan, which is basically just running him through with the sword, just straight up stabbing him through the stomach.
And we are one more dead monster.
Yep, that's and now this is basically where we're flying blind. After this, so we get into some formulaic stuff. Monster of the Week shows up.
Yeah, Monster of the Week shows up. They slightly hint that they're doing a thing that's more than just killing people, and then Kuuga shows up, beats the monster when he's doing his thing, and then another monster shows up, and then they slightly hint a little bit more that they're doing a thing,
and then we do get a bit of a time skip here. We jump from monster 10 to like 15 or something like that.
Yeah, and then we jump again from like 15 to 20.
Yeah, we do a couple of like time skips, and then someone actually does mention somewhere in the show that it's been 3 months since Yusuke first started being Kuuga.
Oh, I didn't catch that line.
Oh no, that was for Titan. Like the squid monster was specifically like, oh, it's been a while since you've been Kuuga, like Sakurako-san or whatever. But yeah, we get a couple of time skips. Like it's not we just jump up numbers, and it's really cool because it's like, oh, we don't need to see all of the monsters. We just need to see like the important ones, like ones that give them new forms, when they give them trouble, stuff like that. And
or when somebody has character development.
Yep. So now without the notes, we're kind of just going by. And now, do we get the teacher? Yeah, we get the teacher episode around this time, right?
Yeah. Before that, the sister's having trouble because like Godai's like, oh, everything's normal, and she's like, but you're fighting monsters, and he goes, everything's normal, and then she goes, you need to be more considerate of other people or something like that, and then we get to a scene where like two kids get into an argument over whose turn it is to read a book, and when the kids are having the argument, they're ready to fight each other because one wants to keep reading the book and the other one wants to get the book for someone else. And she tells them that they need to stop fighting, and then it zooms in on one of the kids. He just holds the book over his head, looks at the other kid and brings it down, and luckily she was right there to block it because that kid was about to super hard murder another kid.
Just the little devil, little devil children.
That was the start of the devil children. Oh man,
yeah. So all right. I guess there's not much to talk about. But now we're gonna get into the teacher episode. The teacher episode is basically where we learn why Godai is like he is, why he's so optimistic, why he wanted to learn 2,000 skills before the year 2000. It's never really brought up. And unfortunately, he never makes reference to that again, because in the episode, he specifically says, yes, I have to learn how to rider kick better. My 1,607th skill.
It's like 164th skill or something like that.
He says my X numbered skill will help me with that. It turns out to just be drawing stick figures in the sand. And it's just like...
I think his 164th talent should have been fucking doing front flips.
No, because he didn't know he needed the front flips until after he was drawing in the sand. But, like, I kind of do wish that he... Like you said, he makes mention of that before and after, and not just, like, the one-time deal. Because he is supposed to have all these skills and abilities.
And the thing is that they introduce it, like, kind of introduce it, and then he does things, and then they say, oh, that Yusuke and his 2,000 skills, and then they kind of forget about it for like anywhere from like 7 to 10 episodes, and then they'll say it again at some point.
Yeah, like it doesn't seem like he has that many skills. Like we see juggling, we see stick figure drawing in the sand, we see the stomp a little bit later.
Yeah. But anyway, his teacher it starts off with Yusuke's old teacher talking to another teacher while he's like looking at the flowers in the schoolyard, and he goes, "Oh, those kids don't understand anything about taking care of the world for the future. They kind of make me lose hope in coming generations, blah blah blah, because they care less." And then the other teacher's like, "Well, you got to give them time to grow, because they're not just gonna and you got to give us we have to have time to teach them, because they're not just gonna know it." And the teacher's like, whatever. And then the next morning, the teacher is going through a bunch of his old possessions, picks up a book, opens it up, it has a drawing, and it says, "Our promise," or "I will fulfill my promise. We'll meet up at such and such time on such and such day, from Yusuke." And then Yusuke is getting ready for the day, but he gets a call saying that he needs to go fight a monster.
Don't forget that the day is specifically that day.
It is specific. This teacher is remembering that he has a promise to show up somewhere the day of. Had he waited a day, or had he waited a day to go clean up his stuff, he would have been late.
They wouldn't have seen it. And Yusuke was super hyped about it.
He was excited. He was like, they're like, "Oh, Yusuke, we need you to do this." And he goes, No, super busy day today. I have to go meet up with an old friend. I'm super excited. I'm ready to go. Let's go do this.
But then a monster starts attacking, and he kind of has to go.
Yeah, it's the rhino monster.
Right, it is in fact the rhino monster, the one that doesn't like car exhaust or the sound of running engines, whatever.
Yeah.
So he asks his friend, his translator, not girlfriend, Sakurako-san, hey, can you go meet up with him for me? So that way he doesn't actually forget. Could you go make sure that he knows that I didn't forget the promise because I have to do a thing? Yeah, he's like, I'll be there a little bit later, and that's when he has to take time out of fighting the monster to learn how to do front flips. He fights the monster, does a rider kick. Rider kick doesn't work, and then he retreats and goes, "My rider kick isn't working. I need it. I need to do something to maybe I need to make it stronger somehow." And then he draws stick figures in the sand and realizes that if he does a flip, he adds more momentum behind his foot, thus making a better rider kick. And he doesn't actually call it a rider kick. He never actually says the names of his finishing moves, but there are the official names: the Mighty Kick, the Dragon Splash, the Pegasus Blast, the Calamity Titan. I just say rider kick because he could do the kick in pretty much any form. Yeah. But so here's the audacious part about this teacher. This teacher says, "I'm here to meet a student, and if this student has forgotten our promise, then I will quit teaching." As if this man had remembered the promise on his own. Dude, you forgot about that promise for 15 years and only remembered it today by accident. Are you kidding me? And it was so then, all right. So in order to fulfill the promise, they were meeting up at the old elementary school that Yusuke used to go to and that this man used to work at. Yeah. So they get to the school. Oh, he meets up with Sakurako-san, and they get to the school, and he goes, "Oh man, it's closed down. Maybe we can't get in." And he goes, "Well, then maybe if we can't get in, then maybe I'll stop being a teacher." And then he's like, "Also, just because Yusuke sent a proxy doesn't mean the promise is fulfilled. So maybe I'll quit being a teacher." Then they're in the school, and then he's talking to her, and I look at Scott and says, "Bro, Yusuke is gonna have to show up and say a highly specific thing. Otherwise, he's gonna quit being a teacher. Gotta sit in his old desk in his old classroom." Oh, and then we moved on to he's not wearing the same outfit from fucking when he's 8 years old. He didn't have his packed lunch that his mom made him.
Oh man.
Yeah. But Yusuke makes it, obviously. He shows up and he's just like...
It's like the end of the day, they're leaving the building. The teacher's already had his realization to not give up on the future, and had already decided that he wasn't going to quit, but then Yusuke shows up anyway, so everything's fine.
Yeah, and I feel like that's still okay, like, because Yusuke really wanted to be there, and so it was fine that he still showed up. Maybe the message could have still been strong if he didn't, but whatever. It's kids' show, gotta have optimism.
I think it would have been far better if the teacher had on his calendar that he was gonna meet up with Yusuke, and because Yusuke had it on his calendar that he was gonna meet up with the teacher.
You're right. It would have been definitely better if the teacher had remembered. If the teacher was equally as excited.
No, I wouldn't even have said equally excited. Maybe the teacher is hesitant to go because he's like, Yusuke's probably forgotten the promise, blah blah blah, and not like he's like, I was kind of waiting for this day. It just kind of happened up on my calendar. It was like, I'll get to meet up with an old student, but if he doesn't show up, that just goes to show you the future shit because he didn't remember his promise.
You're right, but no, had to remember it by accident.
Yes,
which definitely kind of does hurt the story, especially the teacher, because he was the one who basically had given up. It was like. I guess it sort of I guess it sort of worked in that sense where he had already given up, like he had already forgotten the promise, like it didn't matter, like he wasn't putting in the effort to like or something.
The thing is like he was also super confused about the promise, didn't even remember what it was about. Like if he had not just completely forgotten about it, it would have hit home a little better.
I agree, but we learn more about Yusuke. One of the specific reasons that he had a lot of respect for the teacher is because the teacher had told him to cheer up after Yusuke's dad had passed away.
He had helped Yusuke through a very hard time in life and gave him the motivation to lead a bright future.
Yep, and also gave him the thumbs up.
Oh yeah, and
this is a thumbs up. It is a sign that everything is all daijobu. It is all okay.
He passed on Yusuke's patented thumbs up to Yusuke.
Yes, he gave him his signature technique, the thumbs up, his first skill, his first of his 2,000 skills.
Yes.
A couple.
Actually, I think it would have been better if the first of his 2,000 skills was to smile.
Oh, to smile.
Yes, that would have been a better first skill.
It's just complete. It's just unfortunate that they kind of have the gimmick, but don't like he
has the gimmick. They kind of squandered away what could have been like. They could have made some slight decisions on different decisions on that episode, and in my opinion, could have made it great as opposed to just being okay.
Yeah. Also, the whole point about 2,000 skills is that transforming into Kuuga is his 2,000th skill. Like that's part of the gimmick, which is why I felt which is why it was underutilized. Like he has, like we said, the juggling, the stomp.
He even says at one point, like, "Oh, he can help people with his 2,000th skill," and then they just kind of don't.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. So now we're getting a little bit further on, and now we're learning a bit more about the monsters. The monsters have actually started learning Japanese.
Yes,
they're starting to pick up on the modern language, and they start saying a few lines. Some of them say, when the bat. Okay, so the bat. See, he's been alive since basically the beginning, but even the monsters are wearing thin on him because he keeps trying to jump back in on whatever this game is, this ritual of whatever that they're doing. He keeps trying to weasel his way in
every time. Oh, so basically the Lady in Roses pick somebody and then they go about killing some people for whatever arbitrary reason, and eventually, but nearly every time the bat just kind of jumps in and goes, what about my chance? When do I get my chance? And then it's like, you had your chance and you fucked it up. Why do you keep asking?
Yeah, exactly. So he's basically relegated to bitch boy.
Yes.
He's relegated to bitch boy, and they're not giving him anything. They give him zero respect. All of the other monsters treat him like crap because he's a bitch boy. So he says something like, now as the monsters are learning Japanese, he says something in the Grongi language, and the Lady in Roses says, no, we only speak Japanese, or the Linto language is what they call the humans. We only speak the human language out in public. We only speak our language in super private.
Yeah, because it's already been shown that if somebody pays enough attention to them, more than not at all, they can figure out they're not normal.
Yeah, in fact, they were found at one of their bases by Ichijo just because he thought one of them looked weird. He thought the Lady in Roses looked weird.
Yeah, and then she said something in her native language, and he couldn't understand it, so he goes, I'm gonna investigate that shit.
Yeah, so that's probably where I have.
That's actually
good cop.
That's actually somewhere during in one of the earlier the first 6 episodes.
Yeah, something like Ichijo is great or good cop is good or something like that.
Yeah,
but so that's when they start realizing, hey, if we don't speak in their language, they're gonna pay more attention to us. Like, we gotta not draw as much attention.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that they dress, like the way they dress and look, doesn't already put them highly suspicious. God knows they gotta start speaking Japanese.
But if they dress up weird and people just avoid them, people are just gonna avoid them. They're just gonna think they're fucking weird. But so we're learning more about these monsters, the Grongi, and it's really interesting as it's sort of like slowly unveils what they're doing and what they're talking about.
Yeah, eventually, like before you even figure out that it's like a game that they're doing, or a ritual, which I kind of flip back and forth on. I flip back and forth on calling it a game and a ritual, because Scott here at one point says the game whatever, and it's late in a later Rider series they refer to it as a game, but for all intents and purposes it's actually a ritual. Because they're doing it like not just for the sake of doing it, but because it helps them with their ulterior motives, and they kind of have to do it.
Yeah. So Alan here was wondering. He's like, why are they only sending one out at a time? Why are there like these arbitrary rules or situations or whatever? And
like, even to the point where it's like, before I even got a hint as to what was going on, they just, like, the Lady in Roses just looks at a guy and goes, this many people in this much time. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Why does it have to be that? And
they're also taking the tallies with their abacus or the little bracelet that comes up.
Yeah, they use the bracelet to get their, for their personal counts. They use the abacus for, I think, probably Grongi defeated by Kuuga.
Something like that. I don't remember what the abacus is for, but they are keeping tallies and stuff. So I'm trying to sit back and hold it in. I want to tell them that it's sort of like the ritual and sort of like a game, but I don't want to say it yet because this was super early on. But now he knows that there's purpose behind it because
I'm getting because I've seen Drive a later Rider series. It's given me the monsters thing that they're doing is giving me a real the same vibe that Drive gives you, where they're to me it seems like they're trying to do the ritual to promote monsters to commander ranks, because up in our most recent episodes that we've seen, they've revealed that they do the ritual to for promotion, and once they get a promised number of commanders, then they're gonna do something. But in Drive, they just kind of tell you, towards the beginning, that we need a promised number.
But, and then the ritual is called the Gegeru.
Yes.
The Gegeru. That's what this whole event is called, where they go around murdering people for basically kill counts, for basically bragging rights, for promotion chances.
And then they have a brief moment where like the monsters are like kind of sitting around, not doing anything, and then they're like, "Where's the?" Or they refer to her by name, but they don't like, or they refer to her by name. I just don't remember what it is, but they go, "Where's the lady in roses?" And it's like, "Oh, she's off meeting with the captains,
the super captains." Yeah,
and then she comes back later. They resume the game, and then eventually, like after like one particularly bad day where they just kind of like where somebody got wrecked by Kuuga, surprise. They show up back to base, and then there's these new guys sitting there. And when they sit there and start dissing everybody in the room, including the lady in roses, she doesn't do anything, and I'm sitting there thinking like, that's some of them captain motherfuckers, isn't it?
Basically, yes. I think this happened right after. So the latest episodes we've seen is where he gets his horse armor.
Yes, his horse armor.
His horse armor.
If you read it like this, it sounds like horse armor.
Okay. So all right. So now we basically can remember important events in the episodes. Okay, so Jean had gone to the excavation site to search for more crazy things.
And he brought his new little 16-year-old assistant.
Yes, the girl who was upset about her father's death and like, oh, I'm running away because you're not all taking this seriously. Yeah, she's like 16, so Jean is just like, "Yeah, come with me to this excavation site where people." No,
he actually is kind of hesitant about it, but then she just kind of convinces him to let her go anyway.
So he just brings his 16-year-old to this dangerous excavation site where people died, and they find like this. They find stuff. They just find a relic that's just sort of supposed to fit together, but it's all broken up and whatever. So they're just like, pack it in, bring it to Tokyo. We're gonna check it out.
Yep.
So they load it up in a truck, driven by our Kohai, Ichijo's Kohai,
yes.
His super excitable go getter Kohai. So they pack it into the truck and they start driving it back to Tokyo. Halfway there, one of the monsters starts its thing. It's a cockroach, and it really likes driving cars.
Yes, it is super excited. Specifically in reverse, by the way.
Yes, his first time driving a car, he drives it in reverse,
and he really likes the voice, a voice from the car telling him that he's going in reverse.
Yes. At first, I made a joke that he only knew how to drive the car in reverse, but later on, he's running over people with the cars, trapping them.
He's like, he can only drive the car in reverse. And at one point, like, he just takes the truck and starts driving it forward, and I go, what's that? You mean he likes to drive the car in reverse?
Don't forget that they also have the tire markings on some of the corpses that are like, oh, he ran them over multiple times.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah, so one of the monsters starts going there, so Yusuke transforms into Kuuga, and they had been talking about the relic, and they're just like the horse armor or whatever.
Oh no, wait. So the horse armor comes up not in this episode, but the episode before this.
Oh, yeah.
And what it is a piranha-type monster is going around the water, killing a bunch of people. And they catch a very suspicious guy who's just kind of watching the killings happening. And they go, why were you at the scene? Why do you have a
tattoo?
Why do you have a tattoo? Why do you have this pocket knife? And he goes...
wait, one second. So the tattoo is important because it looks like the tattoos that the monsters have in their human forms.
Yes, and they go, and at one point you even claimed that you were a monster. And he goes, I mean, maybe I am. He goes, are you? And he goes, maybe I'm not. And he's just being a suspicious fuck. And I kind of was thinking at the time, like, oh, maybe this guy is like is a monster who, like, got with the times, and, like, maybe he wasn't, like, maybe he's just been hanging out in the human world for a while, and now he's up to things. And, like, now that he knows that his comrades are around and stuff. And then my argument was made completely invalidated by the fact that he has cancer and he thinks nobody can relate to him because he has cancer.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, you're this guy from here and here, and blah 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 blah." And he's just like, "Or do I just look like that guy?" And it's just like, "Why are you being such an obstinate fuck?" Even the police don't like it because he's basically taking light of a very it's like if one guy was going around pretending to be Charles Manson or something like that. Like, oh yeah, I could be Charles Manson. Or are you fucking Charles Manson? Like, are you whoever? Just this guy going around killing people? Or are you a monster who's literally trying to end people's lives? Like, we're not fucking joking here.
And then they find out the guy has cancer. Cut to John and little Babby Kohai policeman driving the truck back, and they make a pit stop. And
no, was John, it? Yeah, it was a pit stop.
Yeah, they make a pit stop, and while Kohai police Babby is off getting something to drink or using the bathroom or something, John hears this explosion, looks in the rearview mirror, sees that the truck with the relic is like moving around. And when he gets out to look, the entire back half of the truck is just gone.
Yes. like the
trailer half.
Yes.
The entire trailer half of the truck is gone.
It basically looks like a big U-Haul truck, and like the entire thing that's not the cabin is just exploded, gone.
Yes, and then he looks and he goes, "They're like, where's the relic at?" And he goes, "I don't know. There was an explosion. I don't know."
And I'd like to point out, before this, the relic had been nothing but broken pieces and like what looked like a power core, like the big thing with the green stone in it.
And occasionally it's been shooting off visions to Yusuke.
Yes, Yusuke has been connecting to it psychically for whatever reason.
Yeah, and then I made the comment that maybe it's gonna be like a jet ski, so we can use it to fight the piranha monster, and then that didn't happen.
No, that didn't happen.
They just got the piranha monster to get on land by luring it with fake blood. Which, why didn't you just take you didn't have to make fake blood. You could have just said we took a couple of donations of blood from officers to lure the monster out.
Yeah, but whatever.
I also have to point out that it's super pink. It looks like ooze. You probably polluted the water by putting it in there.
You pollute the water with real blood too.
I guarantee you the water would be 5 times better if you put real blood in it than if you put that fake sludge in it. I would argue 100 times better given the right circumstances. But anyway,
it doesn't matter.
They lure the piranha monster out. They kill it. Guy with cancer.
Oh, hold on, wait. Before we have the guy with cancer confronts the monster, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm one of you. I want to join you." And the piranha doesn't give a fuck. The
piranha just moves in to kill him.
Yeah, the piranha doesn't.
And then he gets really scared, and he pulls out his knife, and it doesn't do anything.
Especially because the cancer guy doesn't like people because no one can relate to him. So he says humans are shitty. We just pollute the air and blah 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 blah.
Which is when he spouts out the polluting the earth thing. That also was like part of my like evidence to support like he's one of those creatures that like in modern day like up to speed on everything, because he's putting out very realistic things that the creature would say, like very like things that I think the creatures would maybe agree with, but then like he doesn't know because he's not a monster. It just seems like he's spouting out random gibberish.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Like but yeah, so he tries to talk to the piranha monster like, "Oh, I want to join you, da 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 da." And the piranha's just like, ah ha ha, I'm gonna eat you. Because it wanted to kill 180 people in 2 days.
Yes.
That was his gegeru. That was his little goal for his game.
Yeah. Then Kuuga stops him, and then in front of the cancer patient, de-transforms, unhensions.
He unhensions.
And then it's like, he's like, oh great, now we have another person that knows Yusuke's Kuuga, and then we're never going to see this person again.
We're never going to see this. We're never going to see a tragic cancer patient ever again.
I mean, it would be great if he showed up in like one of the final episodes to, I don't know, maybe help some random civilians from like monsters that are attacking.
That'd be pretty dope.
Then you could be like, oh, it's that guy who learned that lesson from Yusuke. No, I guarantee you we're never going to see that guy again. And you've double confirmed it by telling me we're not.
I can't say he doesn't show up in any important capacity. For when I saw Kuuga, I saw Kuuga like 4 years ago, something like that. It's been a while since I've actually seen Kuuga. If he shows up by like accident later and I just missed it, oh well, I missed it. But he doesn't show up in any important capacity that I can remember. But my memory is faulty. Whatever.
Yeah. And then we lead into the cockroach episode where the cockroach is running over people with a truck.
Oh, don't forget that Jean did in fact get in trouble for losing the relic. Like, hey man.
Oh yes, they state at the start of the episode, man, it sucks that John got in trouble for losing the relic after it just exploded out of the back of a truck on its own.
Again, when they packed up the relic, it was in broken pieces and a dead power core.
They don't even know it's a power core. It's just a bunch of broken pieces.
But the pedestal with the green stone in it, it was its dead power core.
I mean, we know that, but they probably didn't.
You could look at it and guess, hey, this looks like a fucking power core. But either way, when they packed it up, it wasn't a thing. It wasn't a thing that was gonna move. It was broken pieces in a box. Should have seen it merge together by reacting to the presence of a Kamen Rider and explode out of your truck and literally fly away. Should have foreseen that, man. And then Ichijo doesn't get fired for selling off his super prototype bike. Jean nearly gets fired.
Because he didn't foresee mystic bullshit.
Yeah, just like you didn't foresee mystic bullshit.
I'm surprised they even... I'm not surprised now that they sent people back to the cave that just killed a bunch of people. Because, like, after remembering that they're gonna fire John for the fucking thing going away. We know magic has happened before, so you gotta be on extra watch out for magic, John. And John's like, magic? Hoopla.
Hoopla. Then we get the police seeing sights of this thing, which we learn is called the Goram from the translations, which is horse armor, essentially.
Yes, it is a messenger of God, an ally of Kuuga.
Yes, it is a good friend of Kuuga. It's a giant beetle that's flying around, eating up water towers and forklifts.
It's specifically just eating up metal objects.
Yes, it specifically ate a forklift and a water tower. It got it not only does it absorb it, it also takes on certain characteristics of it.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that. It's probably looked like that back in the day.
No, it specifically said when it ate the water tower, it took on the water tower's coloration.
Oh, never mind then.
You weren't paying attention?
Yeah, that's super not paying attention.
I was half asleep that episode, and I remember that. Yeah. So we get this the Goram, and we're just like and Yusuke is just like, we don't have time to worry about that. Like, it'll do its thing on its own.
And the police even say like, well, we have Kuuga who's helping us out, and this thing is kind of just off on its own. It's not actively attacking anybody. If you see it, I guess report it. If you don't see it, no big deal, because it's not attacking people. So, like, we have higher priorities.
Yeah, exactly. So then Kuuga has to fight a fucking monster driving a truck. And
yes,
Kuuga has is a motorcycle.
And on his way there, the beetle flies in and merges with his motorcycle.
Because the motorcycle is a horse.
Yes, the beetle is his horse armor.
Yes, you gotta sell that toy.
Yeah. So then he shows up on scene, drives at the truck, and then kind of steers out the way because he thinks the truck is just gonna super run over him. And then his horse armor turns his bike off because he doesn't believe in it.
It doesn't believe in it. So then the truck just crashes over that motorcycle, breaking it forever. Doesn't break it forever. The super prototype bike was super protected by the super horse armor.
Yes, and then Yusuke fights the cockroach on foot, and they think he beats it, but it turns out that was just an explosion from a vat of highly volatile boxes.
Highly volatile boxes.
Yes,
forgot about that.
And then later they're like, "Oh, we're looking around. We don't see any bits from the monster on the scene." And then, my favorite thing is rather than going, "So can we really trust Kuuga? The monster's not dead." One police officer who's on the scene goes, "Hey, I found this manhole," and we go, "Oh, it escaped."
Yep.
Because God knows if I was watching a modern Rider series, I'd be hearing, "Oh, can we really trust that man who told us he killed it but didn't obviously kill it?"
Oh my god. Yeah, that's true. But then again, in a modern Rider series, like, the monsters disintegrate into nothing, and there's just no evidence left.
Yes.
So can we really trust any Kamen Rider ever? But the police are basically trusting Kuuga at this point. Like, there's there's maybe one commander guy who doesn't fully trust Kuuga, but for the most part, everyone recognizes Kuuga, or Number 4 as he's publicly known, as an ally of the people, that he's fighting the monsters, he's fighting all the bad unidentified life forms, and
he's honestly one of the very few riders that is acknowledged for his efforts fighting monsters.
Yeah, it's really cool because it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that specific thing where he's just an enemy forever. He's not Spider-Man where people just don't like him for no reason.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Do you remember that from the Spider-Man animated show? The whole reason Jane Jonah Jameson is super hardcore, trying to fucking push the press in the negative.
Isn't it just because he's wearing a mask and and a masked dude killed his wife or something?
Yes, something like that.
Yeah, it was like, he wears a mask and this guy who killed my wife wears a mask. People who wear masks shouldn't be trusted. Raw.
Now I feel that we have broken into our stride because now we've talked about something that's not related to what we're talking about.
Yes. Now we're getting into it. Now we're talking about tangents. Delicious.
All right. But anyway, they hooked the bike up to a bunch of lab equipment, and then Godai touches it, and then it starts doing things, and everybody's like, "Oh, its power level is off the charts." And then later he goes, guys, I think the reason why the bike stopped is because I didn't believe in it. And then he gets back on the bike, says, "Let's go, partner." And then they drive off into the sunset and kill a cockroach monster by running it over.
Didn't he also transform in the middle of the lab in front of all the scientists?
No, they weren't there.
I remember that almost happening at one point. Like, he just is.
The thing is, we are sitting in the reverse seats that we are in that situation where I was like, "What happened to all the scientists?" And you were like, "Oh, it's nothing. It's not. They're just not there. They all walked out the room."
Yeah. All right, so yeah, we're basically this first one is a little rough around the edges because we're basically trying to remember 20 some odd episodes of the show.
Yeah, we'll try to be more on point.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be more on point in future episodes where I'll actually have notes for more than half of what we're trying to catch up on. 6 episodes of notes trying to catch up to 21 episodes.
So on that note, we're gonna leave off on, so the bat started some shit up in this most recent episode that we saw, and he starts chasing the bat, and looks like he's about to finally take down the bat, and I'm gonna be rid of that shit for the rest of the show. But no, super badass fucking guy on a motorcycle who like
who looks like Kamen Rider 1.
Yes, shows up, and I look at Scott and I go, this guy is fucking top tier, gonna fucking push Kuuga's shit in, and then we kind of stopped watching, and now we're here.
Oh no, you know what we did? You know what we did forget? But I guess you know what? We'll talk about it next time. Dying.
Oh no! It happened in this series of stuff we're gonna talk about now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, we can't.
Can't leave yet.
Okay.
So we have an episode that starts off with
it's the Rhino.
No,
it's not the Rhino.
No, the prettiest Groggy that ever was.
Oh, the Bishonen. Right, the Poison Cloud.
Yes.
How did we forget about that?
He looks like he's a mushroom themed thing. It looks like.
Yeah, he's mushroom themed. He spawns.
Yeah. It starts off with him walking up to somebody, going, "Hey man, you want a kiss?"
No, there's a woman in a back alley.
A woman in a back alley goes, "Hey girl, you want a kiss?" And then she goes like, "What are you?" And then he just grabs her, like they mash faces, and she's dead.
Yeah, she's super dead. So basically, when we get to
then Godai,
when we get to the autopsy, basically says the poison has shrunken and decayed their insides. And I want to take this opportunity to talk about a character that we both really like, but never got a real chance to talk about, and that's the doctor friend, Tsubaki.
Oh yeah, because
we love him. We love him so much.
Yeah, he shows up and he just goes on about the physiology of Kuuga as the show goes on, like saying, "Hey man, things are happening to your body that you're not going to quite understand."
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Leans his face in to Godai, and Godai just goes with it half the time.
Yeah, he's making this explanation, and he's like moving his face slowly toward Godai, and Godai starts mimicking him and moving his face slowly toward him. And they get really close, and as like the closer they get, Scott Hirumi starts going, "Kiss, kiss, kiss, kiss."
Oh, it's great. Don't forget the time that they're doing that, and then suddenly it turns into an arm.
That's the end of this. That's the end of this.
Okay.
So then, Godai gets a call to show up at a crime scene from Ichijo, and on his way, he spots a man that has fallen over and is in anaphylactic shock. And he runs over and goes, Sir, are you okay?" And this guy has like the lips of death, where like you put discoloration on the lips to just notate somebody's dead. And he goes, Sir, are you okay?" And then the monster comes out and goes, "Aw man, 2 for 1. And then he looks at Kuuga and goes, "Kiss." And then he goes, You did this! Because he looks strange as shit.
Oh yeah.
And so then he turns into his monster form, gets like inches from fucking Godai's face, which seems to be a theme with guys and Godai. And so he gets really close, and then Godai pushes him away, transforms into Kuuga, and they fight. And then
a particular note, the monsters don't actually know what Godai looks like outside of the Kuuga armor.
Yes, the only one that would know is the bat, and the bat is apparently withholding that information
because he's a shit. He's a bitch boy.
Yeah. If they gave him a second chance at the ritual, he would probably succeed because he would know, because he knows what Godai looks like, so he knows oh, that's Kuuga? Fuck off.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, so he turns into Kuuga and he starts fighting this pretty boy poison mushroom.
And then the pretty boy poison mushroom does the impossible and breathes gases into a mask.
He kisses the mask so hard that he kisses through it and poison. He actually does it. He poisons Godai.
Yep, and then Godai proceeds to start dying. The monster retreats because
it got
prior to that, Godai did get a bunch of good hits in, and he's you can see the damage on his body.
Yep. And then the police show up, don't they?
Yeah, the police show up. He runs away
with the magic bullets.
Yeah, they have magic bullets now. He runs off. The police start giving chase. Ichijo grabs Godai and calls the doctor and says, "Hey, Godai's dying." And then the doctor's on a date and he's like, "Hey, girl, I'm gonna kiss that collarbone."
You have
Really nice ankles there, and this girl is falling for it super hard. I'm like, this guy has like rolling nat 20 charisma checks on this girl. He's saying the weirdest things.
He's like, "Girl, you have the loveliest collarbone," and it's just like, what? I'd forgotten about it too. Like, I love this character, but I'd forgotten that he was just like, "Hey, girl, you got some symmetrical shins."
Yeah, and so then
a true man of culture.
Yeah, and so the doctor drops the date because clearly saving Kodai's life is slightly more important than getting laid.
than getting his dick wet.
Yeah. Then they get Godai to the hospital. He's in a catatonic state. Police are still chasing the monster. They're shooting him, and the bullets work. And you're gonna find out why I have to say that. I have to say that bullets work.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Bullets work.
For now.
I want you guys to remember that the bullets work. And so then eventually it just leads to all his friends and family going like, "Oh man, Godai's hurt. Or is Godai gonna be okay? We gotta believe in Godai."
By the way, I want to point out that Godai got to the hospital at about 6:30 because over the course of the show, they show
6:30 in the morning, 6:30 in the afternoon,
PM.
Okay,
because remember once it happens, and it's suddenly like time of death 7:44 or whatever.
So anyway, he's in a catatonic state. People come and see him, and then they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go about our lives because that's what Godai would want, and plus he's just gonna get better." And so they all kind of fuck off, except for the doctor. The doctor's like, "You guys are all crazy. He's gonna die." It's like, we gotta find a way to save his life. And then the archaeology chick's like, or Sakurako's like, "Oh, I'll go look into my ancient Aztec texting and see if I can find something." I'm surprised that we never made any of our ancient Aztec jokes.
Oh, you're right. We never made any ancient Aztec jokes, even Aztecs in Japan. Don't worry, they're just all pillar men.
Yeah. So eventually, after she leaves, Godai starts crashing. The doctor's trying to save the life, doing CPR, fucking getting the paddles out, doing everything. And then Sakurako's going through some text, says, "Hey, if it seems like he's gonna die, just..."
No. We don't learn about that until after he dies. So Godai dies on the table.
Yes, he dies.
But then
heart monitor says 0 across the board.
He's flatlining, and the doctor starts CPRing. He's getting the defibrillator. He's doing the CPR, and he does it for a while.
Yeah,
time of death is 7:44.
Although we don't see the doctor that much, that just goes to show you aside from his ethics of a doctor, he's really motivated to save Godai because he's friends with Godai.
Yeah, and
he's going so far to the point that the other doctors and nurses are like,
he's dead.
He's dead. You got to stop now.
I want to say he was doing CPR for 30 minutes because Godai gets to the hospital at 6:30. And it's not because over the course of the show they do show you, it's this place at about this time. And that's how we remember that the bat was fighting at 5 in the morning or whatever at the church from forever ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he gets to the hospital 6:30 p.m. and it's not that long until he starts crashing. And
I would say maybe 30 minutes because people come to see him. His sister, right. Sakurako, Ichijo, they all come to see him, and that it probably took him more than 5 minutes to get there.
Yeah, I want to say that he was doing CPR on flatlined Godai for a good half hour.
Yeah,
because he doesn't even immediately call time of death before he walks out of the room. He calls Ichijo and says,
when he stops, he did one of the things the doctor is supposed to do is declare time of death, and even after he stopped, and everybody leaves the room. He still hasn't said it yet.
Yeah, he doesn't actually say it out loud until he has to tell Ichijo about it.
Yeah. And then cut to Sakurako, who's reading ancient Aztec stuff about Kuuga, and eventually it gets to like the point where it's like, the text basically boiled down to, hey, the belt won't let him die. He may look like he's dying, but he's probably not going to die. And then so she calls, and then when they're asked about it, they're like, oh, we believe in Godai. He's just going to come back. And
yeah, literally, that's what the sister says. It's death would not stop my brother.
And then
essentially,
then Sakurako calls
Tsubaki
and says, hey, it says that if it looks like he's going to die, you can just leave him alone. It'll be fine.
Just don't do anything.
Just don't do anything. And then I look at Scott and said, but he did all the things.
But he did in fact do all the things, and that's what he's realizing. So he goes back to the dead Godai corpse that he left on the hospital table.
It's not that he goes back to the dead Godai corpse. It cuts to a nurse opening the door to the room, and then the nurse has this weird, like, straight, like, face on. It like she should like I was like really confused because I was like, either she's being mind controlled right now or she's supposed to be giving a face of shock when she's not.
Didn't nothing come from that? Didn't like
nothing happened. Godai just got up, and the next time you see Godai, like after he's dead on the table, he's off fighting a monster.
Yeah.
And then now we get to the part where like the police had been tracking down and fighting this monster.
The monster had been dying in a sewer, but now he's like, it's time to start killing people again.
Yeah, because he healed up. He had time to like rest up, get better. Eat some oatmeal. Then he gets back out to the surface and starts killing people again. And when the police come out, they start shooting him. They get their magic bullets Mark II for their special sniper rifles.
Specifically their Mark II special poison bullets against the monsters.
And then they start shooting it and it's not working, and then
it's just not working.
And then like I made a comment that like, oh, maybe the monster got stronger after he healed up, and then after the episode's over and Scott agrees with me and I go, no, I take my theory back. The monster was damaged from when he fought Kuuga and then he had time to heal.
But it was just but then we get to like one of the funniest Tsubaki moments. I really do think is ad-libbed. It's like he's talking to him, he's just like, yeah, you're not dead anymore, and in
fact you're stronger than ever.
Yeah, and he's got his face super close, and he's like he had his hand on like his stomach where the belt is, like inside of his body,
and then he starts kind of like brushing it up to the chest, and then he starts pulling his hand away, and Godai's like meets his hand at his chest, and he starts pulling his hand away, and then they lock arms and start arm wrestling.
and Ichijo's in the room with them, and
he's not reacting to it at all.
This is super normal.
Like Ichijo line comes up at the exact moment they actually start arm wrestling with each other.
Yeah, like
he's just not reacting to them.
That's why I really hope that was just like an ad-lib and they did it first try.
Yeah.
Like they just left it in because it was perfect.
It's like 20 takes on the 20th one that they got the right mood was them arm wrestling each other.
Oh, man. I really did want to mention Tsubaki in this first one because it's just like we didn't talk about him a lot, even though we love him so much.
Yeah.
He doesn't show up that often.
He shows up she shows up to do an examination, and then next time Godai goes to the hospital because he's a little hurt, and then next time is
cancer patient, I think.
No. Ichijo is driving down the street, and Tsubaki pulls up next to him with some girl, and he goes, "Oh man, this isn't my girlfriend. Don't start thinking things." And then we get cancer patient. And then we get Godai's about to die.
Yeah, we don't see Tsubaki a lot, but he's just
he's a very charismatic and impressionable character.
Yes, definitely a favorite of ours.
So now we're basically all caught up.
Yeah.
We did in fact have to talk about the dying. I figured the dying was close enough to the to this whole new thing we're about to dive into that we could have just talked about it next time. But nope, super important. Had to talk about it.
All right, so now we're gonna go find out what the deal with that badass fucking Kamen Rider Ichigo scarfed motherfucker is. So see you guys next time.
See you guys next time.